You asked for a citation. How about multiple citations? Let's go to Corpus Juris Secundum. This is a legal encyclopedia of different legal terms. Let's see, let's go scroll down to, let's backtrack up right here. Motor vehicles. Let's see. Licensing. Particular persons or vehicles affected. Look at this right here. Persons or vehicles excluded or exempted. Statutes applicable only to motor carriers operating on a commercial basis for transportation of goods or passengers do not apply to persons transporting their own property or employees, and although a private carrier may be required to obtain a special license or permit, such carrier is not subject to provisions applicable only to common carriers. This right here is, let's look at exemptions. Statutes which expressly exempt particular persons and vehicles from obtaining a state motor transportation license or permit and paying a state license tax are reasonable and not in violation of constitutional provisions, prohibiting discriminatory grants of privileges and requiring general laws to be uniform. Exemptions from statutes otherwise requiring that a license, permit, or certificate of public conveyance, and that's key, public conveyance, I stress the word public, and necessity be obtained to have been granted to such persons and vehicles as the operators of motor vehicles used solely to transport persons to and from public schools, police or hospital buses or ambulances, hotels and sightseeing buses, persons furnishing dump trucks for transportation of excavated materials and road construction materials, and haulers of materials, supplies, or equipment for use on farms. Other statutes exempt non-resident truckers engaged exclusively in hauling household goods in interstate commerce while using the highways of the state. Vehicles of less than a designated weight and vehicles used exclusively within a zone established by a commission. Okay, this is dealing with common carriers and the hauling of goods. So if you don't fall within those guidelines, you may be exempt. And every one of those blue numbers, starting with number 7 through 18, guess what? There's 7. These are all freaking court citations. Okay? Now, let's go back. In general, I'm looking for it. By whom? Let's see. Right here, number 4, nope. Number 3, nope. Number 2, exemptions. Various statutory provisions exempt particular kinds of motor vehicles from licensing and registration requirements and from the payment of license or registration fees or taxes. It is within the power of a state legislature in providing for the licensing and registration of motor vehicles to exempt particular motor vehicles from the requirements of the statute as long as the legislature's actions are not unreasonable or arbitrary. Accordingly, various vehicles have been exempted, such as special mobile equipment or farm vehicles used exclusively for agricultural purposes, including implements of husbandry operated or moved temporarily on the highways, motor vehicles which are subject to the forms of taxation under some regulations exempt from licensing or privileges. You got cumulative supplement. See, all-terrain vehicles, and you've got court cases. See, they don't tell you which ones are exempt. If you decide to contract with the government, then guess what? You contract, but you don't have to have a license and registration in certain activities. And that's the key, in certain activities. See, I agree to a degree that there are certain things that the system doesn't publicly disclose. Like the whole thing that we were discussing on the video I tagged you in on whether or not you have to have a license or registration. And I've seen too much evidence to know that you don't. But the problem, and this is the whole crux of the problem, you see what you're seeing on the screen here. The problem is there are two types of titles. You have legal title and equitable title. And you don't have equitable title over the car, truck, automobile, motor vehicle, whatever title you want to call it. Now, this example is in New Hampshire, yes, but it's the same in every state. The manufacturer's certificate of origin shall be the official form representing proof of ownership for new vehicles delivered in this state. And that is the security document. That's why it's also, look it up online, on bond paper, because it's a security document. When you look at the Secured Transactions Guide, which is what this is from, and you follow the money, see, you didn't outright pay for the vehicle. Someone else has a security interest in that vehicle, and it's called the state. So when you go purchase a vehicle, there is a manufacturer's certificate of origin with it. And who does that typically go to? It goes to the state. So the people, let's say you pay cash on the car, that's fine. People tend to voluntarily give their ownership document to the state. The state, in turn, gives you a certificate of title, which is not an ownership document. It's a legal title, not an equitable title. This right here, this is still dealing with motor vehicles. Construction and operation as evidence of ownership or title. It says, although under some statutes, that doesn't mean all statutes, a certificate of title determines ownership, that'd be legal title, legal ownership, not equitable, as of a motor vehicle and is the sole or exclusive evidence of title. Ordinarily, a certificate of title is not a warrant of ownership. You ever heard of a warrant of ownership? I would say probably not. And does not convey title or determine or affect ownership, but is merely evidence in establishing title, which may be rebutted by other evidence. A certificate of title to a motor vehicle is not title itself, although under some statutes it is necessary incident to ownership of a used motor vehicle, except as provided otherwise by statute. A certificate of title is not a warrant of ownership or muniment of title, and does not convey title or determine absolute ownership, or alter or affect actual ownership. In the absence of statute providing otherwise, while a certificate of title is not in of itself conclusive proof of title in him or her who therein is designated owner. See, that's part of the problem, is the state technically, when they receive the manufacturer's certificate of origin, they are the owner. And this is why people are getting in trouble. They don't own it. They don't have equitable title. They only have legal title. Right here is an American law report. What constitutes ownership of automobile within the meaning of automobile insurance policy? Now, we can go through all of this, but if you go down to here, it says in Woodson v. Salina Mutual Insurance Company, 1970, a proceeding by an insurer for a declaration that its insured was not the owner of the automobile involved in an accident. The court stated that a certificate of title is not a warrant of ownership and does not convey title or determine or affect ownership, but is merely evidence in establishing title, which may be rebutted by other evidence. In holding that the insured, as seller of his vehicle, was not the owner, or the buyer had driven the automobile from the insured's garage after having purchased it. See, this warrant of ownership, it's not something they tell anybody about, but it's a real thing. There's another one, motor vehicle certificates of title. This is out of PA. Right here. Actually, this is Office of the Attorney General, Department of Justice, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Motor vehicle certificates of title. The certificate of title is made necessary incident to ownership of a motor vehicle by Section 201 of the Vehicle Code. But the certificate does not create ownership, nor is it a warrant of ownership or minument of title, nor is it conclusive evidence of ownership. It is evidence only of prima facie right to possession of a motor vehicle. Prima facie, lowest standard ever. So that's really the problem. The use of the vehicle, honestly, when it's owned by someone else, you have to follow certain rules. And those rules are established by the owner of the vehicles, called the state. Because you don't have a manufacturer certificate of origin and you don't have a warrant of ownership.